I'm gonna try a different.
This year is like, yeah.
I'm gonna try a different program to record today. See if it works.
Grace, Hallmark movies started. Hallmark Christmas started last Saturday.
Why?
So we've been in full Christmas mode since
It
Saturday.
should be like 25 days of Christmas.
No.
Reform or whatever it's called.
Well, then they have
You know,
to release
2
all their
days
new
of
movies
Christmas
like one
is
after the other. No, Dr. Joe.
Thanks.
Christmas is the best.
No, not thank you. Take it
I
back.
just call it freeform because ABC family realized sex sells.
Christmas is the best season, Dr. Joe. You can celebrate it all year.
No.
Not all.
Have you been to Bronner's in Franklin, Michigan?
Huh?
Have you been to Bronner's Christmas store in Franklin? Oh, it's huge. It's like 3 football fields long. It's just ornament after ornament after ornament. It's just a huge Christmas store, and they're open. I think they're open like 363 days a year or something like that.
We don't even need like the inflatable Santas and the reindeer displays, just like the Christmas lights while you're at the movies and the music.
Don't you think you'd get tired of the same songs over and over and over again? Just by
Yeah, I'm not a big Christmas music fan.
Hello.
I
I
listen
love
to it for a
Christmas
little
music,
bit.
but I can only listen to it when it is December. I can only listen to Mariah Carey and then that's it.
I like.
I used to work retail at Christmas. I don't need it very long. There used to be a snoring Santa display that would just snore jingle bells.
I was watching.
It was the most annoying thing I've ever heard in my life.
I was watching TV a couple weeks ago, and it was the Christmas episode, and actually, it wasn't a couple weeks ago, it was a couple months ago. It was over the summer. We were still on summer break. And I got really sad that it wasn't Christmas season.
Gotcha.
I love Christmas.
And so I'm pretty sure all retail workers would be very happy if Christmas season began on December 22nd.
That would be perfectly fine, yes. Whew, working till 11 o'clock at night, that was not fun. What's that?
Christmas season only lasting like a couple of days.
That'd be perfectly fine. Oh, sorry, thanks. All right, so we want to talk about some loan stuff.
Did class get canceled and we just didn't get the memo?
Well, they're not going to get the memo for next week because not this Friday, but next Friday we're not going to have class.
Cool beans.
Not this Friday. Next Friday, no class.
Next Friday, no class.
Okay, don't
But
tell
I
them. Have this be the only time.
But there might be 3 of you who are in CS2 who I'm going to ask to stick around anyway. I'll tell you why.
I'm not in CSD.
Do I already know? I already know.
You are 2 at CS.
There's 4 of us.
You are.
No, there's only 3.
Is it 1?
2, 3, 4.
Oh, he sits behind me, that's why I'm sorry. I forget that people sit
Now we have a computer science faculty candidate coming in next Friday.
What do you mean candidate?
Dr. Joe, I got another interview
Oh, good.
with some little insurance, I don't know, if it's a little, some insurance company in Virginia.
Okay, well that's good.
Wait, it's not this Friday?
So you're moving to
Yeah.
Virginia.
Okay,
Yes.
that's easier.
She's going to do a presentation for Dr. Ross' artificial intelligence class, which they're doing here, and then there'll be some CS2 students in here too.
Because we're supposed to stay.
I'm asking you to, if you would be so kind.
Sure. Is that a formal, like, asking, or is that just like, I might get picked?
This is a formal voluntelling. Instead of volunteering, it's voluntelling.
I'm in CS going now. All I have to do is convince Dr. McGagnon to cancel my theater class. And I can leave 10:50 next Friday.
Oh, there you go.
What's next weekend?
No, not that I know of. But we have a computer, like I said, we
There's
have a,
probability right after. So.
yeah, you have probability anyway. So, anyway, that's why I'm asking. All right, so let's talk about loans. Sound like a plan?
I already know how to use the A-more button on my calculator.
Well,
Learn that in finance.
well, that's good because we're gonna do that too.
Yeah, I wish all of us were using that.
Oh my god, that was a
A
joke.
girl next to me was like, oh, I think I'm gonna fail this. I don't know how to read these equations, blah, blah, blah. And I was like,
It was like, what was it, 25 questions?
yeah.
23 questions of calculate the present value, calculate the, like just punch it in your calculator. And 2, like, which of the following is true?
I know the last one though.
I didn't know the which of the following were true.
Yeah, I did.
I just said.
Okay.
Dr. Joe, why are all the classes that I need to take next semester not offered next semester?
What do you mean?
They're offered in the fall.
What do you?
And then the
That's
ones
not true. You got to take 230. You got to take 314.
I think I'm already in those.
2:30.
Like they're already. I don't have with those on my schedule. I have like 4 classes.
That's 2:30.
The regression analysis, the time series.
Regression analysis?
Yeah.
Are we? Yeah, I'm taking that. Are
Yeah.
we
That class is fun.
doing the independent study?
Yeah, that's my plan.
How do we sign up for that?
We just fill out paperwork. Yeah, if anybody's planning on studying for FM and wants to do review course, I'm happy to do that.
I think
Maybe
we
like
decided as a-
FM/P.
I think we decided as a group that we're gonna all take it in February.
In February? That's early.
Yeah.
Okay. So you don't need a class, is what you're saying.
No, we do.
I was
Because then
thinking,
we're gonna study for our next one.
I was thinking April, but then like Grace was saying, no, I gotta do February to get it out of the way, and Nick was like, I think I can do February, and I was like, I can't wait that long then. So I gotta take it in February too.
I suppose we could do it in April. Is
I
that?
would do it in April.
I would do it in April. That'd just be me.
I feel like
Okay,
April's
all right,
better.
fine.
That would be my suggestion, but you can ignore me.
Okay, but I don't want to spend $220 and then lose the $220.
That's, yes, I agree. You want to pass it, so you get your $225 back.
Exactly.
And you
We
wanna pass it
reimburse
on
if you
first
pass.
try.
Yes, on the first try.
Yes, not the third.
But we'll reimburse when you pass.
Hey, you only lost
I
what?
passed an
$500.
exam.
You didn't pass it while you were here.
Well, my other school didn't reimburse me.
You purchased
Sorry.
Huh?
You purchased your drive.
We have alums who fund
I don't know how
set up a fund to do that
You're doing
for
it
Dr. Beck. All right, let's talk about loans. Can we talk about loans? Can we talk about loans?
I don't want to, but I guess.
All right. Good news is that they're not really much different than the stuff that we've been doing already with annuities. So let's look at this problem. It should be the first problem that's on the sheet that I gave you.
Okay.
Or not.
I guess I need a notebook and pencil, don't I?
Well, only if you want to take notes.
I mean, I need your tabs.
Well, this one you can actually completely do on your calculator when
We're
you need to write
doing it.
anything down anyway.
We're doing it.
All right. So we'll talk about part B on Friday because I want to do principal and interest in certain payments next time. They were in the last 4 videos in chapter 11 anyway. Were you able to hear the videos okay with me talking on them?
Yeah.
You heard just fine, didn't you, Haley? No issues hearing me?
Only the other guy.
Only the other guy.
I didn't
He's
have-
taller, so the microphone's farther away from him.
Well, it's like all the way down his shirt, yeah.
He's a weirdo.
Fit right in around here.
What's that?
He said he'd fit right in around here.
He would fit in very well. Well, I've known him for, let's see, he started graduate school in '95, so it's only like 24 years. So
Long time.
I,
I'm not better than that.
there's a surprise. All right, so
You never know, Dr. Joe. I could have taken like 3 gap years.
you could have. All right, so we think of loans basically as present values of annuities because usually when you think about a loan, you're going to get the money now and pay it back over time. So really, the bank, if you will, is purchasing an annuity in that sense, right? The bank is laying out $50,000. In return, they will get money back over the course of time from you if you take out the loan. So when we're looking at the loans, and we want to know what the level payments are, because we're not given what the payment is in this case, really we're just solving an annuity problem like we've done before, right? Not anything different than that. So we can do that by dropping my pen. Do that using the calculator. Let's make sure I get things set up here correctly. So in this case, we've got the $50,000 loan. So that'll be the present value. It's going to make level payments at the end of each year for 10 years. So it'll be 10. And the interest rate was 9%. Is that what it says?
Yeah.
And then we can compute the payment. And get the $77.91 is what the payment should be. So if we're looking at symbols, we would have the 50,000
is equal to whatever the payment is times the present value for 10 years at 9% interest. All right, that would be what the formula would look like if we were doing this with the formula. We agree? So we would say that was, the payment was what, $77.91? Okay. That okay? All right, so that didn't answer part A, but I need this for part A. Because it also talks about, part A wants to know what the balance is at the end of the third year. So there's two ways to think about it. And that should have been, both of those ways should have been on the videos, yes? Prospective and retrospective methods. Good. All right. So we should be able to do both of those methods to figure out what the balance is at the end of 3 years. So let's do both of them. All right. So what we mean by the prospective method means that you're looking forward. So the prospective method is, we want to know what the present value of the remaining payments is. That's one way to look at finding out the balance. If I want to know what one of the reasons why you might want to know what the balance of a loan is at a given time is maybe you want to pay it off early. Maybe you worked overtime, maybe you had an inheritance, maybe you got a bonus from work, and you've got extra money and you want to pay the loan off early. Get it out of the way. So you might want to know what the balance remaining is at a given time, and the balance given at a given time isn't just the number of payments you need to make by times how many payments are left, because each of those payments has a little bit of interest in it each time, right? The whole point of paying it down over time is because it's knocking down what you have borrowed over time, so it's cutting down the interest each time. So I can't just take the number of payments times the amount of the payment and multiply it and say that's what I owe, because that cheats you out of interest. Okay? So when we talk about the prospective method in this case, if I want to know what the balance is after 3 years, how many payments are remaining after 3 years? 7, right? Because we've already made 3, and it says we have 10 total, right? So in this case, the balance, the remaining balance.
No, this is the exact example of the video.
Is it?
Yeah.
No. Sorry.
I just looked at the numbers and I was like, oh, that's funny. The example was 10 years and then find the balance
Oops.
for 3 years. And I was like,
Sorry.
same.
Sorry about that. I should have looked at what the one was on the video. I didn't remember which one. I did those back in July, so I didn't really remember which ones I did on the video. I did see another one I was going to do as an example and did see that it was on the video, so I didn't do that one. So I apologize.
That's not a big deal.
All right. Anyway, so the remaining balance in this case is going to be your payment times how many ever payments are made or left. So if we think about it just in general, you would have N payments overall, and you've already made T payments. So the remaining balance at time T would be the general idea. So it's the present value of the remaining payments, if you think about it that way. So in this case, we would have the 77.91 times A angle 7. Now, going back over to the calculator, maybe. Oh, that's because I didn't minimize that. Going back over to the calculator, these values are already stored in here, right? We've put in the original present value, the original interest rate, the time, and we calculated the payment. These values now are still all stored in the calculator. Now you could go back and retype everything in, but it's a little bit easier if I already know that they're all in here. The only thing I really need to change is the N to 7, and then have it compute the present value. because the interest rate's still stored in there, and now this payment is stored in there since we computed it. Okay, so let's change the n to 7, and then hit compute the present value, and we get 39 to 1176. I mean, you can retype it all if you'd rather. I'm just trying to give you, save a second or two here and there. It's already stored in there. There's no real reason to restore it in there. Does that make sense? I didn't do anything with the calculator on the video. I just talked.
Did you write the words on the board?
I wrote the words on the board.
Oh, you go.
I know. Wouldn't it? He wrote the ones that he did, and I wrote the ones that I did. There we go. All right. That okay with everybody? With that one? All right, let's see how the retrospective method works. So, prospective, again, is looking forward. Retrospective is looking backward. So what we mean by the looking backward part is, well, if you had the original loan amount and didn't make any payments at all, it would accumulate interest over that period of time, right? We didn't make any payments at all, correct? So whatever that $50,000 is, right? That's what we originally borrowed, $50,000. Whatever that $50,000 is going to grow at some interest rate for 3 years in this case, right? Now, over the period of those 3 years, we've made 3 payments. So there's going to be, if we didn't make any payments at all, that accumulated value of the $50,000 would be the balance, right? But at each year, we're going to take a payment and knock off some of the interest, right? So the balance. So we can subtract off then the future value of the payments that we've already made. And that will give us also the balance remaining. Because we'll have taken what the balance would have grown to and then subtract off what we already paid, what it would grow to. Okay. So this is, the retrospective is the accumulated value, let's say U, maybe. It's the accumulated value of the original amount, and then minus the accumulated value of all the payments that have been made. All right. So in this case, well, if we do this in general, if I say that the original loan amount is L, this would be your L times 1 plus I to the T. And when I'm saying time T, I mean that's the number of periods that we've gone through. And then subtract off whatever your payment is times the accumulated value of those payments. Does that make sense? So in this case, we would have 50,000, 1.09 to the third. That's the accumulated value of the original loan amount. Our payment was the 77.91, and we would multiply that by S3. I should be able to calculate S3 pretty quickly. If the payment, remember the payment's still stored in here from when we did it originally. The interest rate's still stored in here from when we did it originally. If I'm going to do an accumulated value, I need to change the present value back to 0. And the number of compounding periods in this case will be 3. So put in 0 for the present value, put in 3 for the number of periods, and compute the future value. So that 25, I'll write it down in here so I don't forget it when I move back over to the notepad. Or the OneNote, I mean. 25, 5, 39, 69, is that what it says? Mm-hmm. This is your payment times your S angle 3. And then we also, I'm going to store this. I'm going to store it in number 1 here. We also want the future value of the $50,000 at time 3. So I need 50,000 times 1.09 to the third. And that gives us, I'll write it this way. That gives us 64, 751.45. So then I need to subtract off what we stored in number 1, and I get the 39 to 1175 again, 76. Which is exactly what we had previous, wasn't it? So again, this was 64, 751.45, and this one is 25, 539, 69, and gives us the same as what we had before, the 39 to 11, 76. So you can do it either way. Depending on the problem, you might be able to do it one way and not the other, depending on the information they've given you. So you need to know both. Yeah, Sam.
So in this case, how would we use the retrospective if we didn't know the payment beforehand?
You have to find the payment beforehand. For either case, you have to know the payment to be able to do the balance. So if you're asked for a balance at a certain time, you have to know what the payment is. So that was why we did that first. Is that okay?
So what would be the case where you wouldn't be able to use it?
They might not give you the original loan amount, just tell you what the payments are. I've got a couple of examples in here somewhere. We'll probably catch it at some point. All right, let's look at another one here. I think it's probably the second one. I was just cutting and pasting it into OneNote. So that might be a little bit easier if you actually do go back and look at the video. At least you can see what the problem was. It's probably be a little bit more proactive. I didn't label the pages yet. Did you notice that I slept through the new courses now? One says MA304 and one says MA324. That was a Haley giving me a hard time.
What? This was on the video.
Oh, on my OneNote, that I've got 2 sections now. One says for this class because Haley was giving me a hard time about not labeling my stuff. It's all Haley's fault.
If someone had a question, it would have taken me forever to find it. She needed to answer it.
Anyway, what were you saying, Grace? Sorry.
Huh?
Didn't you say something? I thought you said something.
I said this was on the video too.
This one was on the video? Are you serious? Okay, well, I'll do it all on the calculator then. Oh, son of a gun.
100%.
Huh?
Oh, we got it then, Joe.
All right, let's just see how we would do it on the calculator then. Fair enough?
Are we doing bold still?
I'm not doing either. I'm not. That's not asking for balance in this case. It's just asking for a payment amount.
Oh. Okay.
All right. Let's see how we would do the whole thing on the calculator. That sounds like more fun anyway. My goal here is to do this whole problem and not write a thing down.
Well.
So nothing
I
on
still
the
gotta write
chalkboard.
Nothing on the chalkboard. I'm going to do this whole problem in the calculator because I did When I took this exam, I'm telling you, I probably actually wrote something down for like 10 of the 35 problems. Everything else I just typed in the calculator.
So Dr. Joe, once you pass all the exams, are you gonna become an actuary?
No.
Why not?
Because I don't want to be an actuary.
Just take all the exams for funsies.
Dr. Jones.
Why not? Because I like my job.
You can get an internship like the friend did.
I could get an internship like my friend did, and that's not going to happen either. All right.
You have a better job than me.
What's that?
I said you probably have better results than me.
He doesn't have a doctorate in this.
That's fair.
Grace didn't know that, though.
You know you had a doctorate.
Well, I noticed when I was asking him, I was like, hey, Dr. Joe, do you have a PhD? And I was like, oh. I didn't even finish my question.
It was pretty funny. All right. So in this case, our present value for this loan is $50,000. Put that in there for the present value. The interest rate is 7.5%. And in this, they're only going to pay $6,000 for the first 2 years. So the first thing I need to do is calculate what the balance is going to be after 2 years, what's remaining. So the way we can do that is I'm going to put a $6,000 payment in. I need to make sure it has a different sign, right? Because remember, we're paying the present value down, so they need to have opposite signs. And then I'm doing this for 2 years. I'm going to compute the future value.
Why are the future value and the present value opposite signs again?
Why are they opposite signs?
Yeah.
Basically, it is a balancing game.
Okay.
So
Why is mine?
Because I thought that was why the payment was opposite.
it
Mine
is.
is negative.
Wait.
So, but there's still $45,000 remaining that you need to pay off the original. So you're paying. Not only are you paying the payment, and you're also you got to put the rest of this in at the end too. What's wrong, Grace?
No worries.
So would this not give me the right answer?
They should give you the right answer. I'm not done yet. I'm not done.
Well, I didn't think you were done.
Yeah.
I was just like, I didn't know which way you were doing it because I looked down for a second because I was writing and then I looked up and I was like, why do you have a future value?
Because this is giving me the balance after 2 years. This is giving me the left-hand side of your equation.
Okay. Well, I'm ahead of you then.
If you do the left-hand side, did you get that?
I didn't do it. I got nervous when I saw my first number, so.
Oh. This should be how much is remaining to pay. Okay?
Put that in.
I'm going to put this, I'm going to flip the sign. I'm going to put that in as present value. I'm going to make the future value 0. The interest rate stayed the same, but how many more years do we have to pay? 3? And then compute the payment.
There's such a big difference in those payments.
Just a little bit.
The borrower's not thinking very smart.
No, probably not a very good idea.
Unless they're expecting a huge pay raise in 2 years.
Could be.
Well, no, the first 2 years are their internships, and the last 3 years are their tax.
They went to graduate school for a couple of years, and then they got a job so they could pay off their student loans. Maybe that was it.
Yeah, that'll be my student loans. Like,
You get
hey,
it
I'll
said?
pay $1 every year.
But notice I didn't write a thing down, right?
I could get behind this.
And I'm not kidding when I say that a lot of the problems that pop up in the actuarial, at least when I took it, didn't require much to write down. They were pretty straightforward.
Question about this material.
Mhm.
So like the annuity, immediate annuity, those things were really easy and then they got really hard. Is this gonna start off really easy and then get really hard?
I don't think so.
Okay, cool.
He's probably not.
That's fair. Are they gonna get like significantly more complicated like the rest did?
They can, but I don't think they're.
Dr. Joy, did you get the same answers from it? Did you put the future value as
You did
0?
something wrong, Grace.
Did you set N to 3?
What did you do? Show me what we did.
That 6,000 minus 2,000.
Oh, wait, this isn't quite right. This is your value at time 0, right? Oh, yeah, you need to move this. You need to move this forward. You take this by 1 plus I squared. Because you're at time 0. This is at time 2. You're at different time. That's what the problem is. That's why you were close. That's why you were a couple of thousand off. Yeah, that's what it was. You've got your equation is not at the right time.
Dr. Joe, looking through all these problems, and I don't see anything that says beginning, so are we always supposed to assume they're at the end?
Usually when you're doing the loan payments, yes, they're all going to be at the end of the period. Because otherwise, why would you have bothered borrowing that amount? You would have borrowed that amount less the first payment. And then just do the problem.
Dr. Joe, what did you do then?
What did I do?
Yeah.
I put the present value in, the 50,000.
Okay.
I put in the $6,000 payment with opposite sign.
Okay.
I put in the interest rate of the 7.5 and the N is 2.
Okay.
And then I computed the future value.
Okay.
So that gave me the balance at time 2. So then I made the future value the present value. So I just took whatever I had. I took.
I got all the keys.
So I did 50,000.
I just want to listen to the math.
And then I took the 6,000, made it negative. I did the 7.5% interest for 2 years and computed the future value. So I got that.
This is our new present value.
Then so I just flipped the sign to be not negative because I don't know, I could have left it negative. It just would have made the payment positive at the end. I made that for that future value, the new present value, and I made sure to put 0 in for the future value because I want to pay it off. And then I need to change my N to 3 because there's 3 payments remaining. And then I computed the payment. And I got the same answer twice, so I must have done it right. That makes me happy. Does that make sense? What it is? What you did is exactly what I just did on the keys. It just did it all at once. You just need to make sure you have the right time. Because what you did is perfect. There's nothing wrong with what you did except for you had the wrong time values. So you need to make sure that you move that left-hand side up to time 2. You either need to move the left-hand side up to time 2 or the right-hand side back to time 0. One or the other. We okay with that? All right, let's see if I can pick one that's not on the video. We'll see. Let's randomly. That was interesting. That was a blank page.
Well, they're all
I think there was only 2 examples of it.
Oh.
No,
So-
it's 3.
Was this one of them? Was it? Was this one of them?
No. No.
Okay, good.
This is number 9 now?
I don't know. It's let me see what page it's on for you.
It's number.
Yeah, it's number 9, but it's on page 4.
Actually, page M324.
It's on the 4th page of your stuff that I handed out.
Like a Frankenstein review.
I took, well, you can tell by the font when the actual manual changed. So I took one from the Act Text manual and the second one from the ASM manual.
Wait, is it in the Halloween spirit? Yeah, it's made us
I made a Franken manual.
What's a Franken manual?
It's like Franken and his piece.
From different people. and a bunch of
It's a Franken manual.
Sydney, I tried to make a joke. Obviously.
It failed.
Yeah. I probably think like there was a joke between you guys with the Frankenstein.
Dr. Joe thought it was fascinating.
I did.
He didn't do the expressions. I think the math
We'll
joke.
do this all in the calculator.
Yeah, I didn't either.
What's that?
The math joke this Monday?
Yeah.
I didn't get it. What was it? I don't know.
About a mathematician is a machine that turns coffee into theorems.
Yeah.
You know how much coffee I drink?
I don't drink any.
Mathematicians are notorious for drinking copious amounts of
Really?
coffee. We went to the joint meetings last year in Baltimore. They had the Baltimore Convention Center. So this was back in, not this past January, but the January before. They, the people at the conference and the workers are just amazed at how much coffee is being consumed. We got 6,000 mathematicians all in the same place, all drinking coffee.
Maybe I really don't drink. I don't drink coffee at all. It's disgusting.
Coffee is the worst.
I like coffee.
Why?
Guess I'm a true mathematician.
I drink coffee all the time.
I kind of created it though.
Yeah, see, that's just not coffee.
I tried to make myself like it, but
If you don't like it, you don't like it. That's
How do
okay.
we solve this without knowing how much you borrow?
the first one, the prospective way.
Do we have to say, do we have to take 300 times 25 on the, not
1
times
plus
25, but like take that and then move it.
So we have to move the time 10 first.
I'm hearing ideas. We want to hear some more.
So would you use like payments and use an interest rate to get to the value at time 25? Would that be the first thing?
What time?
This is 25 annual payments, so at 25.
Is it just a private?
Well, the value at time 25 better be 0 because you're paying the loan off at 25 years.
Oh, I mean 10.
There you go.
And then at the 10th one, make it the payment like 13.
Well, let's see if we can do. How would I get the balance at time 10? I like that idea first. Let's do that first.
Punch it in your calculator.
Punch in your calculator. Okay. What method are you using if you're going to do this in your calculator to begin with?
The perspective.
It's prospective. How many payments are remaining?
25.
How many payments are remaining? 15. Right? Right? So one of the ways to do this, to find the balance, is the prospective method would say, I take the present value of the remaining payments. Right?
Wait,
Would you
but
get a
isn't
different
the
answer?
300 going to be different?
One of us raised their hand.
I can't see it.
I love the snippiness.
Okay, Mom. Go ahead.
Thank you. Would it be different if you did the future value of 10 instead of the accumulated value of 15?
Then what would be wrong with doing the future value of 10 the way it's set up? What don't I know?
The original.
I don't know the original amount, right? I can. There's enough information to find it because I know how long the loan period is. I know what the payment amount is. I know the interest rate, so I can find it, but I don't need it. That's why I didn't find. That's why I didn't do it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, Grace.
So if you wanted the present value of the remaining payments, wouldn't the 300 turn into the what we're looking for?
So what we're doing is we're trying to remember that something is going on at time 10 that's different than what the original setup is, right? This would be the balance at time 10 given the original setup. The original setup is you took out a loan for 25 years and are going to pay $300 a year. That was the original setup, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're calculating here is how much we would owe still at time 10 before we make this extra $1,000 payment.
Okay,
That's the idea.
gotcha.
Okay?
All right.
So that's why we're doing it this way. We're trying to figure out, what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out how much do we owe so that we know how much, well, we'll subtract 1,000 off of that, then that'll be what we remaining owe, and then recalculate the payment. What we remaining owe. That is some really odd grammar. All right, but we can do this on the calculator. Let's do this on the calculator, maybe.
Words are hard and math is easier.
What's that?
Words are hard, math is easier.
That's right. Math is more easy. Words are hard, math is more easy. More easier. I like that.
I went to the cafe the other day. I was struggling to speak, and it goes, "Words are hard, math is easy. This is why we do math." Or
Oops.
something along those lines.
Interest rate was not 10, was it?
Interest rate is 8%.
Thank you. 8, 10. Compute, present value. Did you get 2,000?
No.
Okay.
I didn't do 15.
It should have been 15, yes. Thank you.
I knew it.
I want to go back to the future.
There you go.
Woohoo! 25, 67, 84.
That's what we would owe.
Okay, that's what you would owe.
So then you gotta subtract.
So then we're going to subtract 1,000 off of that. Or I was going to flip the sign. Either way works, you're exactly right. All right, so that's our new present value, right? Yes? So let's put that in for present value. Let's make sure we put in 0 for the future value, just make sure it's cleared out. 8 still should be stored in the interest rate. The time now is what?
10.
Should still be 15, right?
Why?
Because we have 15 more payments left. Right, we're trying to calculate the new payment for 15 years. So it stays at 15. So I don't need to change that either, so I should just be able to compute payment.
Wow, 183, that's one of the answers, so it must be.
Yeah.
What is multiple choice? Yeah, it looks like the answer.
It looks like the answer, that's right. All right, so again, the process with this was what? We found the balance remaining at time 10. We reduced the balance by the extra payment, and then recalculated the payment. Right? And again, I wrote some stuff down on this one, but I really didn't have to. I could have done all this on, again, another one of these I could have done all on the calculator. But this is an example. I didn't have to use the prospective method, but I would have had to do extra work to use the retrospective method to get the balance. But I did need the balance, right? And the reason why I needed the balance was because I needed to subtract off the 1,000 off that balance. Okay?
Yep.
Okay? Gonna do one more?
One more. Oh no.
I will have 5 minutes.
This stuff is quick.
No, I'm talking about like I didn't realize that it was time to go.
He is the alien.
Iggy!
So mean. Are we doing this by ourselves?
Oh, by the way, I was giving you a chance to read the problem.
I haven't even read it yet.
I believe this one's in the next batch of problems. So it'll be on your 5th page.
Wait, Iggy is a guy?
Sure, why not? All right.
This is hard. So if you pay something off right away, you end up paying more than if you paid in payments?
That's at the end.
It says it pays at the end.
Oh, okay. I was like, that doesn't.
It's hard because they don't tell you what the level payments are.
So basically what we're seeing is that the future value is 326. Question mark.
Part of the future value is 356.54. All right, let's see if we can set it up, see what we need.
Okay.
All right, what does X grow to in 10 years?
X times 1.56 to 10.
Okay.
Plus 356.
Well, we gotta do interest yet, so this is what it grows to. How would I figure out how much interest there is?
the minus X.
Yeah, it's just minus the initial, minus the X, right? So that's the interest for the first part, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. How do I calculate the interest for the second part? What would I do?
Yeah. We have to find the level.
Well, there will be something in there with the level payment. Oops. Well, I'm going to figure out the payment with the annuity, right? How do I figure out interest? What am I going to? How would I? If I know what if I know the level payment, how do I figure out what the interest is?
Paying forward minus. It's not an annuity.
Well, not with figuring out the interest.
Would it be like the something?
It's more complicated than it needs to be. Let's say you borrowed $10,000 and you paid back $1,000 each month or each year for 15 years. How much total did you pay? 15,000. How much did you borrow? 10,000. So much interest did you have to pay? 5. Is it? So how did you figure that out? I took the payment times number of payments to give me the total, right? And then subtracted off what we originally borrowed. I don't know what the payment is, but I do know if I'm.
Simple interest?
No.
Okay, good.
No, I wasn't doing simple. No, I'm doing total amount that I paid minus what I borrowed.
Okay.
So I would take the payment times 10 minus what we borrowed, right? And then I need to add 356.54, right? That would be my equation. All this computation is here is I take what I paid each year for 10 years. That's the total amount I paid. Subtract off what you borrowed. That gives you the total interest. If you've tutored finite math finance problems, they do that in there too when they do their mortgages, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I probably should know.
I got that question wrong.
Did you say that?
Said I wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know? You don't know the fun you're missing. All right. The issue here is it looks like I have two unknowns, doesn't it?
But
They
you can
cancel.
find the payment.
But we can find how do you find this payment? You know how to do this.
X over 10?
There's an X in it.
It's X.
Times an annuity?
Yeah. There's where the annuity comes in.
Times
Right.
it?
Well, is it? It's divided, isn't it? Or no, it's
I thought it was multiple.
it's divided by the A angle what? 10? Right?
Why is it divided? Oh, that's 1 over.
It's one. It's remember the payment times the annuity has to be the X, right?
Gotcha.
We agree?
Yeah.
And now you should be able to solve for X fairly straightforwardly, right? After you get the various values. These two X's will go away, but then you can move all the X's to one side and figure out the values. That's how you would get this one done.
Oh boy.
Does that one make sense? What we did?
Oh, we'll pass it.
I know class is over, I know. It's already 12:50. All right. We'll do more of these next time. Watch the last 4 videos and also watch the first 4 videos if you didn't watch the first 4 videos. Haley.
I'm sorry.
At least you were honest.
That's right. The big thing the big thing I want you to get out of the next videos is being able to do how much principal and how much interest are in a payment. And we also see how to do that on the calculator.
Oh, that's why we didn't do 1B.
That's why we didn't want to do 1B. Because that wasn't in the video that I told you to watch.
Wait, which video are you watching again?
Last 4.
Were we assigned theory of interest homework at the beginning?
Yep, we have 15 problems to do by Friday.
Yes. I knew
He
it.
didn't tell us which ones we have to get.
Yeah.
You just have to pick 15 and do them.
Randomly selected.
Can I do the same one 15 times?
1
There's
plus 1
15
equals
different
2.
ones.
15 without replacement.
15 problems.
Do they have to be theory of interest problems?
Yes, they have to be out of that packet.
What if there were?
Okay, I got to roll this. I gotta get something.
Okay. Enjoy.
I'm planning on. I was supposed to get it before theory and interest. I forgot. 'Cause I forget lots of things.
Yeah, I get that. I forget lots of things too.
Like what?